Hi guys, it's Circle M. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to look at a budget night vision setup. Night vision is the closest thing to an actual superpower that you can buy because the ability to see at night at extended ranges beyond what your eye normally can in close to what your eye can see during the day is ability that can and should not be undervalued. Having done a fair amount of force-on-force training, I can assure you from personal experience that the people who do have night vision consistently will be able to defeat the teams that do not have night vision because you can get far better visibility, coordination, signaling, you name it. You can get so much more, so much better with night vision. It is absolutely worth every penny. But you may not have the money to drop on a really nice or elaborate setup initially, or you may not even know if you actually truly want to get into night vision. So a budget setup may be a way for you to dip your toe into the water to determine whether you do or do not want to do that. So we're going to look at what I have, how I got it. I'm going to give you a rough price guideline if you're going for the absolute budget. For the device you buy, I really recommend that you buy a PVS 14. It is the gold standard for basic night vision, and it's for everything that it can do, it's unbeatable. I would not recommend that you buy a PVS 7, the dual tube that focus into one, because of a whole bunch of issues that are beyond the scope of this video. Just trust me and buy a PVS 14. For the tube that you get, you want to make sure that it is a Gen 3 tube. Don't waste your time with Gen 2. And there are people who are going to say that Gen tube on the high end can be just as good as Gen 3. It's not. They're lying to themselves because they want to justify their purchase. Just spend $100 extra or $200 extra and get an actual Gen 3 tube. It will not disappoint you. The PVS 14 needs to have some sort of way to mount to the helmet itself. I purchased, because this is the loaner setup that I give out to people who don't have night vision when they want to come play with me, I used a surplus PVS 14 and Rhino mount. I got both of these together for $100, which is unbeatable deal, especially for the quality of how solid it is when it locks up, especially compared to the more expensive mounts. This one, which is the one I paid good money for from Wilcox, is wiggly as all get out, and I have to lash it down with these bungee cords to make it usable at night because of the amount that it wiggles. It's basically unusable. Of course, I called Wilcox and wanted to ask them all about it, to which they told me, well, you can spend more money and get an even nicer mount, and that'll reduce that wiggle. And that's not the answer I wanted to see, because that mount by itself was hundreds of dollars, and it's not even the most expensive one that they sell. This USGI one, on the other hand, that's surplus, while it does wiggle, it wiggles a whole lot less than the really expensive one. So I actually recommend that you buy this if your night vision will accept it. I actually recommend that you buy these surplus ones because this is pretty good and it is a fraction of the cost of the expensive one. Whether or not it's a Rhino or a dovetail mount is going to play a factor into the cost. This Rhino mount locks up perfectly fine, so you're going to have to take what you can get. The dovetail is obviously better, but if you're going for absolute minimum cost, getting the two of these bundled together for $100 is a really good deal. You will probably have to hunt to get it that cheap. Usually they're about $150 to $200, but depending on where you're at, what you can get, that's a good deal. The helmet itself is not an actual name brand helmet. This is some airsoft helmet that I got off Amazon. It was like 65, 70 bucks. But the mount is the correct size to hold the night vision, so it works. So 70 bucks for the helmet, $100 for the mount itself. You're at 170 bucks compared to buying a real helmet, which is hundreds of dollars, and the fancy mount for hundreds more. The helmet with the mount is close to actually what I paid for the PVS 14 itself, which is kind of funny. So the one catch is when you are ordering airsoft helmets, they may or may not have the correct size for the shroud itself, so you will have to double check that. Either read the comments and see if someone else has posted up there, or at worst yourself buy 2 or 3 of them until you get one that fits. It doesn't have the fancy suspension system or nice pads, but we don't care about that because we're going for as cheap of a budget as possible. We just want something to hold the night vision, hold it in front of our face, and these are more comfortable than the Skull Crushers. If you get a Skull Crusher, it's not the end of the world, but I recommend the helmet. It's worth it if you can get the cheap ones. The PVS 14 itself, this is a green tube. It doesn't have super high-end specs. It is super blemished, which is why I got it for so cheap. If you hunt on the secondhand market, I have no idea how many people own this tube before I did, but it's still 100% usable. This tube, or a tube similar to it, is going to cost you about $2,000, which is ballpark what I have seen some of the brand new Gen 2 units going for, so you can get a far better tube with better specs for about the same if you're willing to buy used. You do need to be careful when you're buying used that you do buy from someone who is reputable, that you're not going to rip you off, but you can see that the blems in this tube actually are not that bad for what it is, and it's 100% functional. Additionally, due to the low cost, I can hand this setup out to a friend and I will not be as upset if they break it as I would be if they broke something a lot fancier. So all in all, $2,000 for the tube, 170 bucks for this, and you're under what most people would pay for just a brand new tube. You are going to have to hunt for these deals, but they are out there and they can be found. All in all, I really highly recommend that you do buy night vision. As you have seen in my other video where I did the detection of light signatures at night, you can see an incredible amount of stuff that you can't see with your naked eye. And the second you do get to put one on and use it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. With the Gen 3, you can easily drive your vehicle at night, you can shoot your weapons, you can maneuver your elements, you can do all sorts of stuff. It is absolutely worth every penny. And I know there's a good chance that you've probably spent more money on that in Netflix and guns, so save your pennies, buy night vision, it is absolutely worth it. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. You see that you can get a really cheap setup if you do hunt around for parts and you wait for deals. So I definitely strongly encourage you to go out and buy one. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.